Hello, my name is Joseph Valenti. I'm the Vice President of Education for the Lumberg Project, and today we're doing our first video for our computer science series. Today we're just going to go over the basic definitions before going into any sort of coding applicable. It's important to understand where the code comes from before you actually do it. So the first thing we're going to go over are types in Python. Or that's one of the languages that are very important to use. There's Python, Java. There's Python and Java are the main ones. Then there's SQL, which is a new one. But we'll talk about it in Python. That's the most common language people are learning. But here are types. So types. So what are types in Python? So one of the types is an int, which just stands for integer. So an int is just an integer like 1, 2, 3, 4. Then there's a bool, which is just it's a statement of a conditional, which is just true or false. True / false, right? And then there's a string, which is just a word, pretty much. Or it could be anything, but it's typically in quotes. Like that. So we have the int, string, bool. These are the main three types in Python, or general coding. But also with these ints become the operations on them. Oh, actually, there's one more. There's something called a float, which actually goes along quite well with ints, because with the float, it's an int. So 1 in terms of a float would be 1.0, which actually lets you to be more precise if you're doing a calculation. So with the calculation, right, there are certain operations that you can do with these type of expressions here. So with an int division, you have the 2 slashes. That represents you're doing division and you're going to the nearest integer. So this would be 2. But you could also do 5 divided by 2. Now, this would evaluate, if you actually did it, right, it's 2.5, okay? But this would actually evaluate to 2, because this is also called, with integer division, it's called floor division, which means that it goes to not the closest integer, it's not like rounding, it goes to the integer that the value falls in. So even if you get 2.9 with this type of division, it would be 2. However, with a float, the division would be more like this. It would be a single slash. So if you do 2.0 divided by 1.0, it equals 2.0. And if you actually do 5.0 divided by 2.0, you would actually get 2.5 this time, not just 2. So that should be more precise. But with ints, you can do float division. It's not only excluded to floats. So you could do 4 divided by 2, and you would actually get a float, 2.0, because that shows the float division. Now, a string, you could do something like if you want to combine 2 things, you can do or you could do hello world, something like that, right? As a string, right? If you do hello and then world, each is a string, you can actually do a new string, which actually you use plus signs, which is actually similar to all these, actually. They can use plus, except the bool. Bool would pretty much be like true equals true. This would return true. True equals not false. False equals false would return true. True equals false would return false. So it's simple logic. It deals a lot with logic, so that's one way to think of it. So going back to hello world separately, you can do hello plus world, and it would actually return hello world. But instead of them being separately, with the addition sign, unless you add specifically something like this, where you do hello plus space, which you can represent by, you don't have to use the double quotation, you can use the single quotation, hello plus space plus world, if you want to keep that spacing. But if you just do no space, this would be represented by hello plus world. So that would take away the space, and it would actually glue the words together, hello world, which is something that you may have to do. So now you see the plus sign. Plus signs can also be used with ints, with floats, and with ints and floats also comes a multiplication sign, which just looks like just a x, an asterisk. But this is actually one that's similar between floats and ints. Floats and ints both use these math operators similarly. The only difference that you have to note is the whole floor division or floor division or integer division, they can be interchangeable, versus just division.